The glass doors of Global Corporation catch the morning light like 1,000 tiny mirrors, each one reflecting a lobby so polished it looks unreal.
Certain, sir?
Yes, I
Marble
am.
floors,
I worry about
gold
this.
lettering,
Don't.
a fountain
Everything will
that
be fine.
costs more than most people's
If something is
houses.
wrong inside
This
your
is
own
a
company,
building built
I
to
need to see it for
intimidate.
myself.
Yeah.
Then the
The
camera
moment they know
drops
who I
low
am,
to
they'll
the
show me what
floor,
they think.
where a man in torn, dirt-caked clothes sits with his back against the reception desk. His hands are rough. His eyes are not lost. They are watching. "Are you certain, sir?" His assistant had asked him only hours earlier, straightening his tie for the last time before Archie McCune traded it for rags. "If something is wrong inside your own company, I need to see it for myself," Archie had answered. "The moment they know who I am, they'll show me what they think I want to see.
Quarterly numbers immediately.
But if I'm no one,
The merger is
if I'm
pending
nothing
approval
to
by
them,
noon.
Make
I'll
sure the board is
finally
ready.
see who they
No time
really
to
are."
waste.
So here he sits, not the billionaire who built Global Corporation from a garage with 3 employees, just a stranger on a floor he owns, waiting to find out what his empire has become when he isn't watching. Above him, executives in tailored suits step around him without a glance, as if he were a stain to avoid rather than a man. And behind the reception desk, a pair of sharp eyes has just noticed him. Chelsea Crosby's expression twists into disgust. She is already reaching for her radio. Archie doesn't move. He has a company to save, and it starts with enduring whatever comes next. If you're hooked on Archie McCune's journey from billionaire CEO to the man everyone in his own lobby overlooked, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell, because what happens next is going to hit different. Drop a comment below. Were you Team Chelsea gets fired, or did you want an even bigger reckoning? Don't miss it. Archie's badge reveal was just the beginning. The real test of what Global Corporation becomes starts now. See you in the next one. The marble floor is colder than Archie expected. He shifts his weight, feeling the ache settle into his hip, and reminds himself that this is exactly why he came, not to sit somewhere comfortable, but to sit somewhere true. Around him, the lobby wakes up in waves. First the early arrivals, junior staff clutching coffee cups, moving fast and looking at nothing. Then the mid-morning surge, department heads, consultants, men in $1,000 shoes who walk like the floor owes them something. Archie watches all of it from below, and it strikes him how strange it is to be invisible inside a building with his name on the deed. Nobody glances down. Nobody wonders why a man in torn clothes is sitting against their reception desk. He is simply an obstacle, something to root around, like a pillar that's been placed in the wrong spot. He almost smiles at that. Then he catches her. Behind the desk, a young woman in a sharply tailored black suit looks up from her monitor, and her eyes land on him. For a moment, she simply stares, as if her brain is trying to process something that doesn't belong in the frame. Then her face changes. Her nose wrinkles. Her mouth pulls into a thin, disgusted line, the kind of expression people usually reserve for spoiled food or something worse. She doesn't look away quickly either. She lets the disgust sit there, unhidden, unashamed. Archie recognizes the nameplate on her desk from the employee directory he reviewed the night before. Chelsea Crosby, Head Receptionist, 4 years with the company, excellent performance reviews. He watches her mutter something to the assistant beside her, watches the assistant's eyes flick toward him, and then quickly away, embarrassed. Chelsea doesn't look embarrassed. She looks annoyed, the way someone looks when a delivery arrives at the wrong address, and now they have to deal with it. Archie folds his hands in his lap and waits. He didn't come here for comfort. He came here for the truth, and the truth, he is beginning to suspect, wears a very expensive suit. It doesn't take long for Chelsea to act. She rises from her chair with the brisk efficiency of someone handling an unpleasant but routine task. smooths the front of her blazer, and crosses the lobby floor with sharp, clicking steps. She stops a few feet from him, close enough to tower over him, but far enough to keep her shoes from touching the dirt he's tracked onto her marble. "Sir," the word comes out like a warning, not a courtesy. "You cannot be here. This is private property." Archie looks up at her slowly, letting his expression settle into something dazed, something harmless. "I'm just resting a minute," he says, keeping his voice rough, tired. "It's warm in here." "It's warm in here because this is a corporate headquarters, not a shelter." Her arms cross over her chest. "There are services for people like you, 2 blocks from here. This is not one of them." "People like me," Archie repeats quietly, testing the phrase, watching her reaction. "You know what I mean." Her eyes flick over his torn sleeves, his dirt-streaked hands, and something like disgust passes over her face again, quick and unguarded. "Employees are walking past you. Clients are walking past you. Do you understand what that looks like?" He lets his shoulders sag, lets a tremor of exhaustion creep into his voice. "Could I get some water? Just a cup. I haven't had anything since—" "This isn't a cafe." Her answer comes fast, clipped, final. "I need you to gather your things and go. Now, please, before I have to call someone." Archie doesn't move. Not out of defiance, not yet, but because a small, cold part of him wants to see exactly how far this goes. "I don't have anywhere else," he says. And it isn't entirely a lie. Somewhere behind Chelsea's shoulder, he sees a young security guard glance over, his brow furrowed, with something that looks almost like concern. Chelsea straightens, unimpressed. "That's not my problem." She turns on her heel and walks back toward her desk, already reaching for her radio, already treating the matter as settled. Archie watches her go and files the moment away carefully, the way he files away a bad quarterly report, not with anger yet, but with attention. He is beginning to understand why the anonymous complaint reached his desk in the first place. The guard who'd been watching from near the elevator bank waits until Chelsea disappears into the back office before he moves. He's young, Archie guesses early 20s, with the kind of nervous, careful posture of someone who still believes rules exist, for good reasons. He crouches down near Archie, glancing over his shoulder once, twice, and holds out a paper cup of water. "Here," he says quietly. "Sorry about her. She's not usually this." He stops himself, unsure how much he's allowed to say about a co-worker to a stranger on the floor. "Anyway, drink up." Archie takes the cup with both hands, feels the ache in his knuckles from sitting too long, and nods his thanks. "You didn't have to do that." "Nobody should go thirsty in a building with 15 water coolers," the guard says, managing a small, tired smile. His name tag reads, D. Alvarez. But the moment doesn't last. Chelsea's voice cuts across the lobby like a whip crack. "Alvarez," the guard flinches, straightens, and by the time he's on his feet, Chelsea is already crossing the floor toward them, her heels striking the marble with sharp, furious precision. "What do you think you're doing?" she demands, snatching the cup from Archie's hands before he can even lift it to his lips. Water sloshes over the rim and darkens the marble in a small, spreading stain. "He looked thirsty," Alvarez says, his voice smaller now, the confidence drained out of it. "He is not a guest. He is not a client. He is not your responsibility." Chelsea crushes the cup in her fist and drops it into a nearby trash bin without looking at it. "If I catch you feeding strays in my lobby again, I will make sure facilities hears about it. Do you understand me?" "Yes, ma'am." Alvarez's jaw tightens, but he says nothing more. He glances down at Archie once, an apology with no words attached to it, before returning to his post near the elevators, his shoulders a little lower than before. Archie watches the whole exchange without a flicker of visible reaction, but inside, something settles into place with quiet certainty. He has seen cruelty today, yes, but he has also seen kindness. Small, careful, punished kindness. And he understands now that this story is not only about what Chelsea has become, it's about who else is watching and what they choose to do about it even when it costs them. He tucks the guard's name into memory. Alvarez, a name worth remembering, for later. Chelsea doesn't return to her desk after that. She lingers near the reception counter for a moment, arms crossed, jaw tight, glancing at Archie every few seconds, as if his mere presence is a personal insult she cannot let go unanswered. A young man in a plain, ill-fitting jacket approaches the desk not long after, a folder clutched to his chest, clearly nervous, clearly hopeful. Archie catches only fragments of the exchange, here for the marketing coordinator interview, and watches Chelsea's practiced smile flatten the moment her eyes finish scanning him, his shoes, his folder, the faint fray at his cuffs. She tells him, pleasantly enough for anyone not listening closely, that the position has been filled, that HR should have called, that she's terribly sorry for the inconvenience. The young man leaves looking confused, more than angry, glancing back once at the desk as though replaying the conversation to find where it went wrong. Archie watches him go and files this away too, more carefully than anything before it. He makes a note to check the position himself. He already suspects what he'll find. When a janitor rolls his cart past the front doors, a few minutes later, Chelsea intercepts him with the brisk urgency of someone solving an emergency. Archie can't hear everything she says, but he catches enough, sweep by the desk, right there, right where he's sitting, and watches the janitor's confused expression shift into reluctant compliance. The man wheels his cart closer, avoiding Archie's eyes, and begins sweeping in tight, deliberate strokes that kick dust and grit directly toward him. It isn't subtle. A fine cloud rises and settles over Archie's already filthy clothes, over his hands, into the creases of his face. He doesn't cough. He doesn't complain. He simply sits, still and steady, letting the dust settle like it's nothing at all, and watches Chelsea watch him from a few feet away, arms still crossed, waiting for some kind of reaction that never comes. Her frustration is visible now, a tightness around her eyes that wasn't there an hour ago. She had expected him to flinch, to leave, to make this easy. Instead, he simply exists in her lobby, unbothered, and that unbothered stillness seems to needle her more than any argument could. "You could at least have the decency to move when someone's working," she says, her voice sharper now, thinner at the edges. "I'm not in his way," Archie replies calmly, glancing at the janitor, who keeps his eyes fixed firmly on the floor, clearly wishing he were anywhere else. Chelsea doesn't respond to that. She simply turns and walks off, her heels clicking out a rhythm of contained fury, and Archie watches her go, filing this away too. Every insult, every act of manufactured cruelty, adds another brick to the case quietly building itself in his mind. He isn't angry yet. He is still mostly curious, still mostly gathering, but he can feel the patience in him thinning, degree by degree, the same way it did years ago when he watched a supplier cheat a warehouse full of workers out of overtime pay. Some things, once seen clearly, cannot be unseen. The lobby's energy shifts an hour later, and Archie feels it before he understands the cause. The air changes first, a kind of electric alertness rippling through the staff, phones lighting up, radios crackling with hushed, urgent chatter. Then he sees it, 2 black SUVs pulling up outside the glass doors, and a small procession of people in immaculate suits stepping out, moving with the unhurried confidence of people who are used to being important wherever they go. Chelsea appears at the desk like she's been launched from a spring, smoothing her blazer, checking her reflection in the dark screen of her monitor, arranging her face into a warm, professional smile that looks nothing like the expression she's worn all morning. Archie recognizes the visiting delegation immediately, Kessler Group, a firm his own board has been courting for a partnership worth 9 figures. He wonders, briefly, if this is fate or simply bad timing. For Chelsea, it is clearly a crisis. Her eyes dart to Archie, to the dirt smudged across the marble around him, to the doors where the Kessler executives are moments from entering, and something close to panic flashes across her face. She crosses the lobby fast, crouching slightly beside him, her voice dropping into an urgent hiss. "You need to move. Right now, get up and go stand by the loading dock, or the restroom, or anywhere that isn't here." Her hand closes around his upper arm, fingers digging in with more force than necessary. "I am not going to let you humiliate this company in front of a client." Archie doesn't move. "I'm not doing anything," he says quietly. "I'm just sitting. You're sitting where the most important people we work with are about to walk through that door." Her grip tightens, and she tugs, trying to pull him up and sideways in one motion, clearly hoping to muscle him out of sight before the delegation crosses the threshold. "Get up." He plants his weight instead, calm and immovable as the marble beneath him, and for a moment the two of them are locked in a silent, absurd struggle. A woman, in a designer suit, trying to physically drag a supposed beggar across her own lobby floor, her face flushing red with effort and mounting panic as the glass doors begin to swing open behind her. "I said get up," she hisses again, lower now, more desperate, glancing over her shoulder at the approaching executives. "Please, you don't understand what's at stake here." Archie looks up at her, and for just a moment, something in his gaze sharpens, not the dazed, tired look he's worn all morning, but something older, steadier, something that doesn't quite belong to a man with nowhere else to go. It's gone as quickly as it appeared, but not before Chelsea seems to notice, her hand faltering on his arm. He doesn't budge, not an inch, and as the Kessler Group's polished shoes click across the threshold behind her, Chelsea is left crouched beside a stranger she cannot move, in a lobby she can no longer control, with the weight of everything about to collide at once. The Kessler executives are only a few steps into the lobby when Chelsea's composure finally cracks. She releases Archie's arm, straightens, and for a moment tries to salvage the smile she'd built for the visitors, but it slips, curdles, and something in her simply gives way. She spins back to Archie, and the professional mask is gone entirely, replaced by raw, humiliated fury. "You are a disgrace," she says, and her voice is loud now, carrying across the marble floor, drawing eyes from every direction. "Do you understand that? Look at you, filthy, worthless, sitting here like you have any right to exist in a place like this." The Kessler executives have stopped near the elevator bank, watching with the stiff, uncomfortable expressions of people who've stumbled into someone else's argument. Chelsea doesn't seem to notice, or doesn't care. "You are a stain on this lobby, on this company, on everyone who has to look at you. People built something beautiful here, and you're sitting in the middle of it like garbage nobody bothered to take out." Archie says nothing. He simply watches her, absorbing every word with the same stillness he's carried all morning, and something about that stillness seems to enrage her further, as though his silence is itself an act of defiance. "You think I won't do something about this?" She rips the radio from her belt, thumb jamming the call button so hard her knuckles whiten. Security to the main lobby. Now, I want this man removed. Immediately. Her voice cracks on the last word, more from anger than volume, and the response crackles back, almost instantly, footsteps already converging from two directions, radios chirping in acknowledgement. Archie glances toward the elevator bank, where Alvarez stands frozen, his young face caught between duty and the memory of a paper cup of water crushed in Chelsea's fist an hour earlier. Archie holds his gaze for just a moment, and something passes between them, not quite reassurance, but something close to it. 3 more guards arrive within seconds, moving in the brisk, practiced formation of men trained to handle exactly this kind of situation, boxing Archie in against the reception desk with wide, careful stances. Chelsea stands over him now, chest heaving slightly, one arm flung out toward the glass doors, in a gesture so sharp it looks almost violent. "Out," she says, and her voice has dropped into something colder, something final. "You are done sitting here disgracing this building. Get him out of my lobby before our clients think we let anyone off the street come rot on our floor." The guards exchange uncertain glances. This is clearly not a typical removal, not with a dozen employees and a delegation of visiting executives watching, but training wins out over hesitation, and they begin to close the remaining distance, hands extending toward Archie's shoulders. Alvarez is the last to move, and when he does, his hands are gentle, almost apologetic, sliding beneath Archie's arm, as though trying to help him up rather than haul him out. "Sorry," he murmurs, barely audible, meant for Archie alone. "I have to. I'm sorry." Chelsea, oblivious to the softness of it, jabs her finger toward the doors again, louder now, playing to the small crowd that has gathered, without seeming to realize how it makes her look. "Move. Now. I don't care where he goes. Just get him out of my sight." It's in that exact moment, with 3 sets of hands hovering near him, and Chelsea's voice ringing off the marble, that Archie finally moves. Not away, not in resistance. He simply reaches into the torn collar of his shirt, unhurried, and the guards pause instinctively, uncertain what he's reaching for. His fingers close around something small and hard, tucked against his chest this entire time, and he draws it out slowly into the light. It isn't a weapon, it isn't spare change, or a folded photograph, or anything the lobby expects. It's a badge, pristine, white, laminated, catching the overhead lights in a way that makes it impossible to ignore. He lifts it, unhurried, holding it up at eye level for Chelsea and the guards, and everyone else close enough to see. The lobby seems to hold its breath. Chelsea's outstretched arm falters mid-gesture. Her eyes drop to the badge, confused at first. Why would a man off the street be holding a corporate ID? And then her gaze catches on the photograph. Her own confusion gives way to something else entirely as she reads the name printed beneath it, then the title beneath that, the 2 letters that seem to grow larger the longer she stares at them. CEO. Her face drains of color so completely that for a moment she looks almost as pale as the badge itself. The guards freeze mid-motion, hands still hovering near Archie's shoulders, each of them following Chelsea's stare down to the small laminated card, and arriving, one by one, at the same impossible realization. Nobody moves. Nobody speaks. The Kessler executives near the elevators have gone silent too, sensing that whatever is happening in front of them is not a lobby disturbance at all, but something far more consequential. Even the ambient hum of the building seems to quiet, as though the air conditioning itself is holding its breath. Archie lets the silence stretch just long enough for the truth to fully land. for every witness in that lobby to understand exactly what they've been watching unfold for the past hour, before he moves again. He rises to his feet slowly, and the transformation is almost physical in its clarity. His shoulders, hunched all morning under the weight of a role he'd been playing, roll back. His spine straightens. The dazed, tired eyes he's worn since sunrise sharpen into something clear and unflinching, and the tremor he'd let creep into his voice earlier is entirely gone when he finally speaks. "My name is Archie McCune," he says, and though his voice isn't raised, it carries through the lobby with an authority that makes the raised voice Chelsea used only moments ago seem small by comparison. "I founded this company 19 years ago in a rented office with 3 employees and a folding table for a desk. I have sat on this floor since 7 o'clock this morning." He turns, taking in the guards still frozen around him, the receptionists at the desk, the janitor still holding his broom near the pillar, the small crowd of employees who have gathered at a careful distance. His eyes finally settle on Chelsea, who has not moved, has not spoken, has not seemed to remember how to do either. "In that time," Archie continues, "I was denied a cup of water. I watched an employee get threatened with disciplinary action for offering me one anyway. I was swept with a broom, intentionally, to have dirt kicked onto me. I was grabbed and dragged at when a client's arrival became inconvenient, and I was just called worthless, a stain, garbage nobody bothered to take out." He lets the words settle, watching them land on the faces around him. Those were not the words of a stranger. Those were the words of my own head receptionist, spoken about a man she believed had no power to answer back. Chelsea's mouth opens, then closes. Whatever defense she might have reached for seems to have abandoned her entirely. "I didn't come down here today because of a rumor about rude behavior," Archie says, quieter now, though no less firm. "I came because an anonymous report reached my office claiming that job applicants, qualified people, good people, were being turned away at this very desk. Not for lacking credentials, not for lacking experience, but because they didn't look like they belonged here. Because they didn't dress wealthy enough, didn't carry themselves in a way someone decided fit the image of this company." He pauses, and his eyes stay fixed on her. "I watched it happen myself this morning. A young man came in for an interview, and you told him the position was filled. It wasn't. I checked. What I think really happened is that you decided, on sight, that he didn't belong in the circle of people you consider worth letting through that door." He looks directly at Chelsea now. "I wanted to know if the report was true. I think this morning answered that question more clearly than any investigation could have." A murmur moves through the gathered employees, some of surprise, some of something closer to vindication, as though a suspicion long held in whispers has finally been spoken aloud in daylight. Chelsea finds her voice at last, thin and unsteady. "Mr. McCune, I didn't know. If I had known who you were, I would never have—" "That," Archie says, cutting her off without raising his voice, "is exactly the problem." He lets that sit for a moment. "You would never have treated the CEO that way, but you had no trouble treating a man you believed was nobody that way, and you had no trouble deciding, all on your own, who was welcome in this building and who wasn't. That tells me everything I need to know about the values you've been enforcing at the front door of my company." The silence that follows is absolute. Even the Kessler executives, still standing near the elevators, seem to understand they are witnessing something they were never meant to see, and none of them move to interrupt it. Archie turns to the security guards, still standing near him, their hands now lowered, their postures shifted from procedural to uncertain. Ms. Crosby's employment with Global Corporation ends as of this moment, he says clearly, loud enough for the entire lobby to hear. Please escort her to collect her belongings and see that she's shown out of the building. Chelsea's composure finally breaks entirely. You can't just, she starts, but the words have nowhere to go, no argument capable of standing against what an entire lobby just watched her do. Two of the guards step toward her, not unkindly, but firmly, and she doesn't resist as they guide her back toward the reception desk to gather her things. Her face, still pale, has taken on the look of someone watching her own certainty collapse in real time. Archie doesn't watch her go. Instead, his eyes find Alvarez, still standing near the desk, his hands loosely at his sides, looking as though he isn't entirely sure whether he's about to be reprimanded or something else entirely. You, Archie says, and Alvarez straightens instinctively. What's your name? Daniel Alvarez, sir. Daniel, Archie nods slowly. You gave a stranger water today, knowing it might cost you something. You were reprimanded for it, and you did it anyway. Then, a few minutes ago, you were the only person in this lobby who tried to help me up instead of drag me out. He glances toward the empty space where Chelsea's desk chair sits askew from her hurried departure. This company needs more people who lead with decency instead of fear of getting in trouble for it. Effective today, you're being promoted to head of lobby operations. You'll have full authority over how guests, applicants, and yes, people passing through are treated at this entrance from now on. Alvarez blinks, clearly unprepared for this turn, his mouth opening slightly before he manages to find words. Thank you, sir. I won't let you down. I don't think you will, Archie says, and for the first time all morning, something like warmth crosses his face. He turns then to address the lobby at large, the employees who have gathered in a loose, uncertain crowd, the janitor still holding his broom, the assistants who'd watched from behind monitors all morning, too afraid to intervene. What happened here today is not an isolated incident, and I don't intend to treat it like one, he says. Starting this week, every employee who interacts with the public, every receptionist, every guard, every member of this staff will go through a new training program built around one simple principle. You do not know who is standing in front of you, and it should never matter. Kindness is not a courtesy we extend based on someone's clothes or their bank account. It is the baseline, it is not negotiable, and it will be reflected in how this company evaluates every single person who represents it at that door. He glances toward the Kessler Group executives, who are watching him with an entirely new kind of attention now, not the polished, transactional interest of a business meeting, but something closer to respect. I apologize for the disruption to your visit, Archie says to them, calm and unshaken. But I'd rather you see exactly who we are, flaws included, than present you with a version of this company that isn't true. The senior Kessler executive, a silver-haired man who has stood quietly through the entire exchange, gives a slow, thoughtful nod. Mr. McCune, he says, I've sat through a lot of pitches about company values. I think I just watched the only one that mattered. Archie allows himself a small, tired smile at that, the adrenaline of the morning finally beginning to ease from his shoulders. He looks around the lobby once more, at the marble floor still dusted faintly with dirt from a janitor's broom, at Alvarez already stepping into his new role with a straighter spine, at the quiet, watchful faces of employees who understand, perhaps for the first time, that the person who built this company has just proven he still cares what it has become. The gleaming lobby of Global Corporation feels different now, though nothing about its marble or its gold lettering or its towering glass doors has changed. What's changed is quieter than that, harder to see, but impossible to miss. The sense that somewhere beneath all that polish, the company has finally remembered what it was built on. Archie stands a while longer, dirt still clinging to his tattered sleeves, and looks out over the lobby he has just spent a lifetime's worth of lessons reclaiming. For the first time since the anonymous complaint landed on his desk, he feels something settle in his chest. Not triumph exactly, but relief. The soul of his company, battered but not broken, has been given a chance to breathe again. Chelsea thought she knew exactly who she was insulting until the badge came out. But was Chelsea's cruelty really about the rules, or was it about deciding who belonged and who didn't? Smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because Archie isn't done reshaping this company. Drop a comment. Do you think Alvarez earns Chelsea's old office? This story is about to get even more satisfying. See you in the next one.